everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Pallas. This week's show is on drag shows. It's been the latest thing to fear, and I've literally been to dozens of drag shows held in gay clubs, after hours gay clubs, and as benign as Hamburger Mary's. So all of this fear just blows my mind. But I know that my experiences do not dictate others' experiences. So we're all here for some truth. Thank you for joining us, and I am looking forward to your questions and comments. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. If you are on Facebook, grant StreamYard access so we can see your name when you comment or have a question. Please make sure that to keep all comments and questions related to the show topic and that this is a safe space. I want to give a shout out to our top sponsors, Ruth, Kirsten, Michelle, Ray, and Heidi. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. If you like the show, you can support it by going to sherrypallas.com. There you will find literally dozens of ways. Thanks in advance. And thank you for welcoming us into your home and joining the conversation. I appreciate all of you. Side note, we will be doing a live show at the Wild Goose Festival. It's July 13th through the 16th. Come watch live and be part of this show. The Wild Goose Festival is a one-of-a-kind gathering that brings together activists, artists, and seekers from all walks of life to explore justice, art, spirituality, and community. It's held at Vanoy Farms in Union Grove, North Carolina, and I would love to see you there. They have engaging workshops, inspiring panels, and interactive experiences. The Goose has something for everyone. As a Fireside Peep, you will get $50 off the price of an adult weekend ticket. Just use the discount code SHERRY. So mark your calendars and be part of this incredible community that's committed to making a positive impact in the world. To get more information and your tickets, go to wildgoosefestival.org, and I would love to see you there. Okay, enough housekeeping. Let's get on with our guests and get smarter. There we go. Ashley Laverdiere, aka Baby Boy, is based out of Dayton, Ohio. Baby Boy is a physically disabled powerhouse king known for his ability to captivate his audience. A strong storyteller and even stronger advocate, his drag showcases the struggles and success of life as an intersectional artist in the world, not built for people like him. Welcome, Baby Boy. Is your sound on?
Hey.
There we go.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Always fun.
Welcome. Next, we have Nathan Pons, Alistar, and I'm not going to pronounce it because we tried backstage and I failed miserably. Devane Summers is a drag queen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and an activist for 2S LGBTQIA. They were raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, in a strict religious home. Nathaniel's self-hatred, harm, suicide thoughts, and attempts started once his family and religious mentors discovered he was queer. They forced him into conversion therapy. After that conversion therapy trauma, he then left the family and their religion. With soul-searching and studies, Nathaniel discovered that the Creator made him and he must live in truth. After 7 dark years, on August 28th, 2018, Nathaniel accepted their true, authentic self. Now a Jewish mystic, and they believe the greatest religion is love. Welcome, Alistar.
Hello, darlings. How are you?
Hey, I am wonderful, darling. So glad that you've come to chat. This is her first time, and I love it.
Yes.
And next we have Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins. They are a queer theologian, drag advocate, and sometimes aspirant, and lover of camp aesthetic. They are perennial wisdom seeker, spiritual humanist, mystical skeptic and skeptical mystic, president of Divine Science Federation International, and senior minister at the Sunshine Cathedral. Welcome, Darrell.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. And I would just like to say to Alastair, although I think I came along probably decades before they did, I was born an hour away in Miller County, Arkansas, 1 hour away from where he was.
Oh my.
To Shreveport, here we are.
Such a small world.
Yes, I love it.
So I'm so thrilled that we're having this conversation, and hello to everybody in the comments. There's a lot of fear going on right now. And there is, like I said in the beginning, I don't understand it. Having been to so many drag shows myself, I don't understand the fear, especially since Hooters, Wing House, gymnastics, Olympic volleyball are all more revealing than anything that I have seen in drag shows. But again, my view is not everyone's view. So let's start from the beginning. Baby boy, what got you into drag?
Okay, so how to keep a long story short. So, for me, it was actually rooted in a way of dealing with trauma.
Okay.
Me and my partner at the time I had gone through a miscarriage when I was with this particular partner. And I remember we went out, like about a week after it happened, we went out to one of the gay bars around the area and decided to get super, super drunk and just karaoke and all that good jazz, try to burn off the energy. And after that night, I was like, you know what? That was awesome. Anybody who knows me outside of drag knows I cannot sing live for shit. It's terrible. But that particular night was awesome. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do drag. And she looked at me like, say what now? Because, even she kind of knew me as this like person that was the last person you would expect to get up on a stage and, have all this energy and this stage presence and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. And so I got my start over at Mask in Dayton. But basically, in terms of what drag means for me, it's all about, particularly for me, it's all about advocacy, and it always has been.
Okay.
My favorite thing in the world to do is tie in together certain causes for certain things and do like fundraising shows and awareness work, et cetera, stuff like that. That is literally my favorite thing to do when it comes to shows.
Fantastic.
There are so many different like causes and stuff out there, and so much like awareness for different things that needs to become more of a thing. And I just kind of streamlined that into my entire drag career. Actually, the biggest part of that for me was actually, believe it or not, mental health advocacy, because of the fact that I was dealing with so much stuff in my personal life at that point. And, my mental health was not that great. Because of the whole not having any family support with that whole situation and whatnot. So basically, I built my entire drag brand around like awareness for different causes and stuff, but particularly mental health awareness.
That's fantastic. Darrell, how about you?
Well, I sort of was always in the middle of it and didn't realize. I just always identified, like growing up, camp television. I was born in the 60s. So late 60s, early mid 70s, camp television was just television. And so when I would see Endora, this powerful witch on Bewitched, but she wore caftans. I wear caftans to this day. Wore caftans and costume jewelry, and she beat like a drag queen, and she had these big wigs. And
you're right. I never looked at it like that.
I was drawn to her.
Yeah.
And so I was always drawn to these strong female characters. Always get the best of the men or the people who are supposed to be in charge. And so these marginalized people, by living into who they are, would always become so powerful. And so whether it was on the Big Valley, the matriarch on the Big Valley, or was Endora on that, or it was the Munsters, all these people in these costumes living their truth by being bigger and more ridiculous than everyone else, but that's how they were authentic. Well, of course, I at 4 and 5 and 6 didn't realize that what I loved was drag, but that aesthetic is almost innate to me. And so the minute I found there are ways to tap into that and be part of that, I was here for it.
That's awesome.
In fact, there was a church in Fort Worth where someone asked me. They had it was called the Dyke Tones. It was a lip syncing lesbian performance group, and they needed a queen for something, and their queen quit or died or moved. I forget. And they're like, "Would you do it?" And so that was actually my debut. And when I got the call, it was slightly raining outside, and I'm like, "Well, I guess I'll be Misty Rain." And that was my first incarnation, and it was in a church in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, the first drag show I ever saw, I was 23, 24 maybe. And I just sat there in awe, and I was trying to figure out how I could do it. Like, but I'm a woman, I'm not supposed to do it. But I was just like, I want to do that. It looked like so much fun. The dress up, the, kicking the legs, the fun, the lip syncing. I wanted to do it too.
Right. And you can now. We realize that drag is performance, and so a cisgender woman can perform as a queen because it's a different experience, really.
Interesting.
So, yeah, people who are trans, one way or the other, people who are non-binary, people who are cis. Drag is the art, and anyone can become that sort of artist.
I absolutely love that. I love that. Alistar, what about you? What got you into it?
Well, as in my bio, it said I came out in the year 2018. So as soon as I came out, I went to my first gay bar ever, Majestic in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and saw my first drag queen there, Chanel Sterling and London D. Rain. They put on a fabulous show, and when I got there, you could definitely tell I was the like at prom, you see that guy in the corner with 2 drinks and by themselves, and because I was by myself, I had no one, I didn't know anyone, I was in culture shock because I had a very religious upbringing, so just being there in that ambiance just was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What's going on? And then Chanel Sterling came over, and she told me, she's like, you're new here, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, is it that obvious? And so then she told me to tell her my story, and I did. And then she bought me a drink and clacked her fan and told me to go dance and have fun. And she said, congratulations, and gave me a hug. And she says, we love you and embrace you. And so that was the moment there that really was my first moment with drag. I saw it on television occasionally or whatnot. But and I can always remember growing up, I was always attracted to that form of art. And so when I came out, I just like, okay, I'm going to do this. So in January 2019, that's when Alistar, Bluefia Devane Summers was birthed.
Okay, so let's start with you. What's the name? How'd you get it? What does it mean? And why can't I say that word?
Bluefia, darling. Okay. Well, see, Alistar Bluefia was my original first name. It was with the spiritual circle I was in at the moment. It was actually my spiritual name because Alistar in the Gaelic means light bearer. It's a Gaelic language. And Abrufia is Hebrew for house of healing.
Oh, wow.
And so that is my goal and my mission, is to be a voice to those who are speechless and a light to those who are in darkness. Because right now, especially with all the stuff we have going on, we have a lot of people just feeling scared, terrified, hurt. And it's my mission to be that light to them and to also be a voice for them. Because in Judaism, I was born on the Jewish calendar on Teshri 1, and that's called the Feast of Trumpets. So guess what? I'm a big mouth. This trumpet's always blowing. I'm always speaking and talking and being an advocate and speaking truth and being a voice for my community. So with that being said, those two names birthed out of what I went through in my journey, in my long 29 years until I came out journey. And so Devane come as actually one of my drag moms. She's retired at the moment. Her name is Alexandra Devane. Um, uh, and so she just sews and is a seamstress now. And then Winter Summers is also another mentor and drag mother of mine. And they both have helped me a whole lot in my journey through. Hello, Tammy's watching. Yes, Alistar. They both have helped me in my journey in pageantry and just growing in the art of drag, because it's an art and it's a lot of work. You know, you have to put a lot of work into this art and a lot of finances. And so it has to be, you have to be very dedicated. So,
You know, I bitch getting ready for this show. I couldn't imagine.
oh, you know what? We should do a video of what it does, what we have to do to get ready. Because literally for me, I've gotten it down now to 2 hours completely with makeup, pads, wig, costume, shoes, etc. But when I first started, oh honey, it took me quite a while, just like all drag entertainers. Because you got to find your face, you got to find your face, you got to find your look and what you wish to present yourself as. And so it takes time. I'm actually going under new evolution right now about it, because it's constantly growing. You never stop growing in drag.
It is part of the art, though, that you love, right?
Exactly. Okay. Absolutely. Love it.
You were the only one that wasn't in the bio with your picture in drag. Would you allow me to share one of the photos that you sent me?
Oh, sure.
So I can show? Just for the audience to see. That is Darrell doing their drag Bible story hour for 4 weeks. So Darrell,
oh my gosh, that is
right.
I love it.
Let me see if I can show that one. There's that one with the rosaries.
There we go.
Yeah. The Liza.
Oh.
Where's the? Do you have the Liza wig?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
That's actually my favorite. I think that's my Facebook photo. The Liza wig.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Love it.
The makeup is, I can, in my evolution, I was Misty Rain, for a minute. And then years later, I had to help do some fundraising. And it was also the time that I was working on my master's degree in theater. And so I performed as Sophie Tucker, her old vaudeville act. I found all her old songs from the New York Library. And so I performed, and so that in the blue dress with the updo, that's me as Sophie Tucker. And that was 15 years ago. So I can paint like a woman, but I've never had to beat like a queen. So for this latest Drag Venus Scriptura incarnation, I actually have my own Raven. I have someone who beats me because she is a pro. And so for this last incarnation, yeah, I cheated. I have someone do me now.
Yeah, I just had a photo shoot a couple weeks ago, and I had a makeup person. So, so yeah, leave it to the pros. But if that is part of the art, I mean, again, for me, it's like, oh God, I have this much time. I've got to get going. So, do you have any other names, or just the two?
No, I've done it so sporadically and amateurishly,
okay.
as needed. But now I'm more and more in demand for it, because I'll do it. And so when people are fighting because this is going on in Tennessee, this is going on in Oklahoma, it's going on in Florida, this is going on in Arkansas, it's going on in Missouri. And so if they don't, like, people are actually asking, will you do it? Will you do a thing here? And so, but it's protest, which drag has always been. Drag has always been revolutionary. And so I don't do it as a great artist, but I do it as a committed revolutionary.
So that is a theme going on here. And I don't think I realized that. I've always looked at it as a performance, entertainment, a really good time,
Mhm.
but I've never seen
Yep.
activism behind it. And that is a really beautiful thing, and maybe why people are so scared.
Yeah.
Baby boy, how'd you get your name?
So I actually got mine. It was a really interesting story. I went to my first open stage, and there was a queen with a similar name. And I was like panicking at this point because I had had a conversation with my partner at the time. I'm like, I want to do this, and she's like, okay, let's go. But then I'm like, crap, what am I gonna do? What songs am I gonna do? What clothes? Like, I just literally threw some clothes into my suitcase, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm dealing with. But so we get to the bar, and I'm like, crap, stage name, the most important thing, and I don't know. And so I started bouncing off ideas with this other queen, and she's like, oh, well, why don't you go with this? And I'm like, okay, that's gonna work. And actually, believe it or not, I know we had a conversation way before the show about, like, do I want to do it this way because of the way it can, like, amplify and whatnot. We had a whole conversation about this,
Yeah.
but the backstory behind it is actually hilarious. Because anybody that knows me in person, like, okay, I am cursed. I am 4'6". I am tiny. I hate it. But that aside, but so it's kind of an inside joke with that, along with the fact that outside of drag, I am the most masked lesbian you would ever meet in the world. So it's a pun spelled wrong.
Okay.
So it's
I
kind
like
of
it.
like
You're
basically a
4'6".
fat inside joke.
You're 4'6".
Yes, it's a curse.
Well, I said the same thing about my height, but wow, I never would have guessed. It's not cursed. It's not.
Yes. So that's kind of the backstory behind that. And then actually, my last name, Magic, I got that from my drag mom. She pulled us in, what was it? Oh my God, a year and a half ago now-ish, somewhere. So it's been a bit. So I got my last name off of her. And it's actually kind of interesting. Our whole family's kind of this whole, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Untypical dynamic, because you got my drag mom, the queen, and then three of us kings. And it doesn't normally happen that way. It's normally queens taking on other queens and kings taking on other kings. And then here we are. And it's like,
Okay.
Very atypical for the scene, I guess, per se. But
Well, and kings are, though, right? I mean,
Right,
I've
right.
never. I mean, when you and I were talking, it was, holy crap! I've never even considered kings, I had never
Right.
seen any in any of the shows that I had been to.
Mhm.
So you must be like a anomaly out
Our
there
whole
and just
family
shocking the whole.
dynamic is just like a total outlier compared to like everybody else. And just a real quick thing, the fact that we formed up during the pandemic. So like we have been doing this whole thing for about a year and a half, and we've actually never met. So we all have this joke of, like, when we do eventually all find a spot and do a live show together, it's going to be this big, like, family reunion, because we all formed up during the middle of this pandemic. So it's not the typical way of forming out either.
So you all have mentioned the family and the queen moms. Is that typical, that you are taken under someone's wing as like a mentor type thing, if you want to get into it? To anyone?
Well, I guess, yeah, I will jump in on that. Yeah, it's typically just like with anything, with any type of art, like in, painters, I used to do art. I want to get back into that, as in oil painting. I had a teacher, she had to teach me how to do certain things, to make certain objects take place and things of that nature. So yeah, it's very advised to have a mentor. There are some out there that have just started, that don't have a mentor. They just watched a lot of YouTube videos, and things of that nature. But yeah, it's I would advise that someone would, because I can teach someone the mistakes I made, like
Yeah.
and putting on hips and putting on the breasts, putting, doing makeup certain this way and that way. I would advise that it would be something that should be done. And it's also to create a family, because, we have to have a chosen family in our community, because a lot of us, like myself, have been disowned from our biological families. So it's another way of creating a community and a family. And guess what? We fight like a family too. We have fun, but we fight like a family too. It's literally like a family. Like my drag moms are my moms. On Mother's Day, I'm wishing them a happy Mother's Day, because they have taken that role in my life that was a void because of my biological mother disowning me. So it's really to create a community and a family, and to also learn from each other,
I could say the exact same thing about my days of high school in the theater. It's exactly the same. Any profession or any hobby, goal, any of that, you're going to look to people who are already doing it. Photography and anything. You should have leaders. So that completely makes sense. Darrell, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, but I didn't have a drag house. I have lots of friends, of course, who are performers, but my undergraduate and first master's degree are in theater, and so I always wanted to portray women roles. I wanted to be Mama Rose. I wanted to be these feminine characters, and of course, no one's casting that, and so I would just wind up singing their songs in character or whatever on cabaret stages. And so I sort of backed into drag as an actor.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like I just, and then what I realized, of course, RuPaul says we're born naked and the rest is drag. And that's true. We perform so much. Gender's performative. If I ever tried to butch it up, that was a performance. But so if I ever femmed it up a bit more, yeah, of course, that's a performance, but I was performing anyway. We're all performing anyway. And so drag and a lot of drag performers will say, as I embraced the performance of the other gender, I got more in touch with my assigned gender. As I became a drag queen, I actually felt more secure in my masculinity than I ever had, or the other way around. And which is what RuPaul says, that drag reveals who you are.
I love that. Okay, so let's get to the really tough question. Sex. I have seen so many people afraid of going to drag shows because they're supposedly, again, never my experience, but sexual escapades on stage. One guy said that the first time he saw breasts was at a drag show. Which I thought was interesting. I questioned how he was fed as a child. But, what do people have to fear out there? Is there anything, or is this just truly more bullshit from the religious right trying to demonize someone? Whoever wants to go.
Honestly, the first thing that popped into my head when you said that, and this is as much as I hate to say it, it's true right now and it's making it scary. The only thing you really have to fear about this stuff is if some right-wing crazy Christian decides to get an idea in their head and gets their hand on a gun.
Yeah.
That's when I think of fear and getting into drag and doing a show, that's what I think of.
Yeah, sadly, yes. And another thing is that with these religious fanatics, you have them being taught by a lot of their leaders that we are an abomination, we are this, we are that, we are, when a lot of it was misquoted scriptures. But then also you have them feeding them misinformation. Just as there is adult movies, there is adult drag. Just as there is kid movies, there is family-friendly drag. Just like in theater, you have theater that is, there are some musicals or plays that are for adults only, and there are some musicals and plays that are for kids or families. And so you have these individuals that are leaders misinforming their people And so then those misinformations is causing the fear. None of them, I guarantee you, 95% of them have not been to a drag show, have not encountered drag story time. I dress up as Mary Poppins in drag story time, or I'll dress up as Winifred from Sanders, the Hocus Pocus. How in the world is that sexual? If you, if that sexually attracts you, then I mean that's your thing. But it's not sexual, and we have a lot of those that do deal with families and children. We have a lot of protocols that we go through of do's and don'ts, and just like with anything, like teachers, they have do's and don'ts you do with kids and not with kids. With camp counselors at camps, you have do's and don'ts. They're basically been misinformed and lied to, saying we're sexualizing them, we are doing things that is inappropriate when we're not. Half the songs I do are kid bop songs or something like that. I mean, or something from Mary Poppins, like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. How is that sexual? They won't. What it is they're thinking with fear and misinformation, and then it's causing them to react and act as they are. And it's just very sad to see, because this is an art that's been back in ancient Greece, and then other ancient civilizations had this type of art in some way, form, or fashion. So it's not something brand new out of the box.
It was just until this century that women were allowed on stage. So up until the last 100 years,
exactly,
it was all drag.
Yeah. And sadly, that's sad, because it was in some ways a hindrance to a lot of women, because they couldn't do it. They couldn't perform. They couldn't be in theater. And that breaks my heart. But then guess what? Theater was a place for a lot of us queers in the ancient history to have a place to be safe. And so, it had a bitter and a sweetness of it. Women couldn't do it, or in some, but it was also a protection for us as queer individuals. And it's always has been, always will be.
Yeah. It's actually more sinister, even though, than misinformation. I mean, there's certainly misinformation, and there are people are pulling the strings very intentionally about this sort of thing, because they intentionally confuse gender and sex and sexuality.
Exactly.
So they do that on purpose to get people wound up. What they're calling sex, obviously, no one's simulating sex on stage. Obviously, even if blue humor, which you can see on television, you're not worried about naked body parts. In fact, you can't see a queen's naked body parts. It takes 10 minutes to get out of the padding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I said, it was like, do you really think they're going to do all that and then drop it all?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not about nudity. It's not about, and even blue humor. Okay, if it's just going to get really raunchy, first of all, that's lazy comedy. But second of all, that's going to happen in a nightclub where 56-year-old me got carded. Obviously, there's not any 6-year-old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of it is, so of course it's ridiculous. And we are, as reasonable people, looking at how ridiculous it is. Reason has nothing to do with this. If they're worried about kids, they would want to get guns out of kids' hands instead of keeping kids away from a person in costume. It's not about the kids. It's not about safety. It's not about morals. It is about demonizing the LGBTQ plus community.
Exactly.
100%.
And that's it. That is it.
Because it's easy. That is the easiest.
Monsters.
Yeah.
And of course, these are performers who have guidelines to perform in. If things get violent, if things get out of hand, they get bounced out just like any of the patrons.
Yeah.
There are rules there, and so, but it's not about reality. It is about painting a picture, demonizing people, because now they can get married. Now they can serve in the military. Now all these things, and this is their retort. We had a black president. We have a black Asian vice president. Those damn queers are getting married. What the fuck are we going to do? Yeah. And this is what they're doing. This is the Empire Strikes Back.
Well, and it's also an easy win for them, to say that they're attacking something and to have it win. I would like to share my 2 horrifying drag experiences. Horrifying, I tell you, horrifying. One, I am almost 6 feet tall. I wear the same size shoe as most drag queens out there. So on more than one occasion, I have had to fight off queens because they've wanted to try on or steal my boots. Horrifying, I tell you. Horrifying.
You might want to invest in a taser just to protect you.
I mean, the last time I'm holding on to it's one of my happiest memories of fighting a queen over my boots. And I'm like, I know they're great boots, but you're not taking them.
You're not getting them.
Great time. My other horrifying story is we were at an after hours gay club with my boyfriend, and he was in awe. He had never been to a drag show before. He had never been to a gay club before. Cher was up. Shania Twain was up. And at one point, he put his hand on my arm and he said, we need to leave right now. And I said, why? He goes, we just have to go. We just have to go. And as we're walking out, I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? He goes, yeah, I was totally getting turned on and it was really uncomfortable. So in the whole
well, then guess what?
Yeah.
Those entertainers did their job then.
Exactly. Exactly. So in the whole scheme of things, probably close to 30 drag shows. Those are my horrors. Now, a lot of them were in clubs. Should children be in nightclubs? No. So it's a stupid even question to have because it's a different scene. I mean, my son as a child, I wouldn't have minded him seeing a drag show, but he would never have been allowed in the bar. So again, they're fighting over something that doesn't even exist. And then I was a part of the generation with Captain Kangaroo, and he dressed up every single day. So to see people in costume talking to children and to issue in this fear is not only wasted energy, it's so destructive and puts your lives in danger for an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And it will eventually, the courts will eventually do the right thing. They never rush to do the right thing, but they will eventually do the right thing because justice is justice. It will all work out in the end. But in the meantime, people will have raised a lot of money to do what they want to do, to promote their platform, to get elected to various offices or whatever. So this is an easy money maker for them. Within the next 3 to 10 years or whatever, all the evilness is going to get struck down. In the meantime, a lot of queer kids are miserable and scared, and people are raising money for their political aims. That's the agenda. They know this can't last. You can't live on meanness forever, but you can get a lot of money in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's like the GOP's mantra right now.
Exactly, on everyone. Even with being Jewish, it's very they're causing anti-Semitism to rise. There's right now in Oklahoma City, it is so bad. Anti-Semitism is so bad in Oklahoma City. The FBI is involved in here. Okay. Thankfully, it's not that bad here in Tulsa, and I hope it doesn't get that bad here in Tulsa. But as of right now, I have friends in OKC that are very fearful when they go to temple or when they go to different Jewish events because it is very hostile. They even had a hate day. These neo-Nazis, whatever you want to call them, they had a hate day at the Capitol and protested hate against gays and Jews.
That is...
Anna, you have a question, but if it was your previous one of how did you develop your persona, you were late and missed that. So if you have another question, I would be happy to address that. So Anna's my producer, so she can be late all the time.
Oh my.
Okay, that's a great one. I like that one. What impact has RuPaul had on any of you?
Oh.
Twice so far.
What was that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I've quoted her twice so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
I love RuPaul. I watch it as often as I can. But I have a very busy life being an activist and have a day-to-day job and, all these different things. So, but I love watching the show. I love seeing all the entertainers on that show. But yes, RuPaul, I love her saying, and it has helped me throughout my transition and who I am today, is if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love anyone else?
Yeah.
And that's very true. And guess what? That's what what a lot of religious texts say, correct?
Yeah.
Do unto others as you want to do unto you. Be kind, love one another as you love yourself. But that's the thing. A lot of these people don't love themselves because they're hiding who they are. Many of them are in the closet very, very, very deeply, but they don't love themselves. They hate themselves. They think themselves disgust. So doing that, they're lashing out and projecting that hatred.
Mm-hmm.
And their confusion and their fear. And that's another thing that I just it really helped me, is that one phrase that she said, because we have to love ourselves. We have to embrace who we are and love ourselves. And that's when in August of 2018, I did that. And I felt like the weight of the world just lifted off my back, because I finally accepted who I was created to be. And the fact that the song "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman helped me tremendously in becoming my true self. When I first saw that movie, I saw that movie 10 times in the theater. When I first saw it, I was just streaming in tears. And all my friends that knew me very closely knew why, because they knew what I was fighting. They knew what I was trying to oppress and keep in that closet.
Yeah, I think a lot of the hostility and anger is self-hatred. And that ignites so much anger when someone who hates themselves for being something and they're seeing someone else thrive in that environment, the anger just rises. And it's not your fault. It's on them.
No.
But they are the loudest voices. The penny in the empty can makes the most noise. But it's really causing a lot of stress and a lot of danger. Does anyone have anyone to say? Because I do have one more question that.
I do want to, because there's sort of an elephant in the room, I think, whenever we're talking about these kinds of things, and it's represented by the collar around my neck, which I'm wearing for effect, because this collar acts as a push-up bra for my neck. I hate it, but it's good optics, for the show, right? So, but no, is that so much of this is religion fueled, and so in a way, I feel like I need to apologize to everyone who's been hurt by religion, because it has been weaponized. It has been weaponized, even against other religions, like you said, the anti-Semitism, the anti-Islamic sentiment, the homophobia, the racism, and so much of it, religion is either used to justify it or actually to promote it, and that is a misuse of religion. That is a weaponization of religion. But I do also want to say that I think we have, and this will be controversial, I think we have a religious impulse, and I think that we get that met in so many ways. And so when you're talking about a drag show in a club, you're talking about community, you're talking about gathering together, you're talking about celebrating, you're talking about uplifting people out of despair, out of hopelessness, out of loneliness. You're talking about what art does, which is what spirituality does and religion is meant to do, is lift people up and bring people together, bind people together. You have the cocktails, you have the snacks, which is a table fellowship or communion. They may not take an offering, but you're probably tipping those queens and tipping your server. You are getting in these drag experiences, or in lots of experiences, cinemas, wherever, you are getting your religious needs met. It's part of my doctoral dissertation, is popular entertainment as queer canon. And so that not only can religion borrow from the queer and camp and drag communities, and should if they want to be any damn good at all, but not only that, but for those who are like, I've been so hurt by church, I can't even look at one, you're having it anyway, and maybe more authentically than people under a steeple. So I just want to get that little word in, that I think religion is an innate need, and I think there are 1,000 ways to get it met. I hope my church is one of the healthy ways to do it, but if you can't even think about us because you've been so hurt, go to the nearest club, go to the nearest drag. And when you see people shining because they're drag queens, they're MCs, they're performing, lip syncing or singing in their own voice, whatever. When you see people shine, that helps you shine, and that's what spirituality is meant to do. And it's better when you share it. So don't limit church to church, because I think what the drag community has done is shown us there's another way to have it. And I hope we can all do it together. I love going to drag shows, and I've got drag queens that love coming to my church. But don't let one who were assholes about it keep you from it. Have it in the club. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Have it where it is safe. And maybe that's not a place with an altar and candles, but there is some place.
Well, and every single one of us would be stoned by the church, right? I am a single mother woman speaking in public. Um, I would be one of the first to go, according to religion. So, we have to fight back on that and again, put it towards love. That's why I loved your bio so much because, and yes, I have to send you one, Darrell, but I literally wear a band every day that says love is my religion, to remember to drop the dogma, to remember
Yeah.
how much we have imposed all the bullshit on there and that love is still available.
Right, exactly.
And
It's
I
interesting
love
like that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. It's interesting you mention it like that because out of drag, when I was figuring out my whole gender identity thing going on and whatnot, where did I figure it out? Through drag. It took a couple shots to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
whereas in the meantime, particularly with my parents' church and constantly having to deal with their beliefs and getting all that spewed in my face, it's like, oh no, binaries are the only thing that exist. And if you stray outside of that in any type of way, you're like, disowned from things or you're pushed away or whatever. I was actually, long story short, listening to this sermon from this pastor or whatever. And he was saying, oh, the church is so divided. And I'm thinking to myself, no, it's not. You just push us out.
Yeah.
And we have to come up with our own thing. And same thing like you said about bars, it's kind of the same deal. It's, being pushed out of these formal religions and having to find something else.
And that's what I found in my synagogue I've recently have discovered, the Na'emanah in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is such a loving environment. That is a very progressive synagogue, they had me at Purim dressed in drag as the Rainbow Queen, and it was awesome to feel that. It was healing too, because I can't tell you how hard it was to start going back into temple and start going back into religious observances I used to do. And then Rabbi pulled me aside, Rabbi Hyman, and said, "Hey, why don't you come to Purim and you help me teach the Esther story, and you dressed as and drag, and you march us into our big parade that we're going to have." And it was, I had to hold back tears so many times. I thought, well, the glue and lashes helped hold back the tears, but it was very enlightening and healing. And I love my synagogue. I love the people in my synagogue. And it's thankfully there's a lot of progressive religious institutions out there. And I'm so thankful so many of them are growing, because you got these wonderful projects with the 1946 movie and just all these people waking up saying, wow, there was a lot of misinformation. There's been a lot of mistranslation. There's been a lot of assumptions. And now have come back to reality and said, wow, we need to, fix this because we're hurting a lot of people.
Yeah. A drag queen helped Queen Esther become queen. In antiquity, the eunuchs were sort of two-spirit. They were considered to be a third gender. They had to dress in a certain way, feminized ways, and her handler was a eunuch, and he is the one who taught her to dress and do hair and makeup in a way that would make her stand out in the contest to actually become the new queen, because Vashti was out. And so they had this big nationwide contest. Esther won, but it was a eunuch who helped her beat and get the updo and transform herself to where she would stand out enough to become queen of Persia. And drag queens are part of the sacred history. And
exactly.
And so you don't have Queen Esther without a drag handler helping her beat and present in a way to get her noticed. I'm gonna shout.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna share that with Rabbi.
Can we kind of address that, because that I've gotten when I discovered through my learning process that eunuchs were actually the ancient form of trans. I've personally gotten some kickback on that, saying that eunuchs were forced. It was a point of abuse and domination, and I never learned that. I learned that they were trusted among the women because they weren't a threat,
Right.
that they were in they were part of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and they were in the castles and everything. Mm-hmm. Do you guys know any different?
Slaves were often castrated.
Yes.
Sometimes people wanted to be for singing or whatever, or because of some weird spiritual quest or whatever. But a lot of times it was slaves. It was imposed. But how one is what one is doesn't change the fact of how they operate in the world and how they're treated. So just like, okay, you're a eunuch because you were beaten in battle and that just was the way it turned out for you. Well, I'm the way I am for whatever reason, but I'm here now, and this is how I'm treated. And so the fact is that eunuchs, whenever they were eunuchs, were treated as a third gender. They had to operate in certain ways, and in fact, it was the word eunuch may have been broader than we even realized, and even Jesus says that in the Gospel of Matthew, that some people are born eunuchs, some people are made that way, some people choose, meaning probably celibacy. So that the eunuch category is broad, and what it means is people who are sexually different.
Well, and Alisar, you and I were talking before the show or during the week about the multiple genders in Judaism.
Let me
go for it.
Let me pull that up real quick. Well, if it will stop being.
Well, and while you're doing that, I also the Native Americans had 9 different genders. So this bigotry is really taught based on misinformation and total bullshit. And the fact that it's coming from the church is the most hypocritical thing out there. I mean, there is no direct address of Jesus in the LGBTQ community except for the eunuch comment. So if anything, the trans people, cross-dressers, drag, all of those, it's clear in the Bible. You must accept them. You must love them. Okay, Alistar, talk about Judaism.
Okay, so male is the number 1, and that's Zachar. Then you got female, which is Nechva. You have the third gender, which is androgynous, and that's having both male and female characteristics. That's how I just see myself. And then you have Tumtum, and that's lacking sexual characteristics. So that means basically asexual. You're really just, you don't have any desire. 5, it is Oyonet Hama, which is identified female at birth, but later naturally developing male characteristics. Then you have Elonet Adam, which is identified female at birth, but later developing male characteristics through human intervention. So that would mean transitioning. Okay, so then you have number 7, it is Saris Hama, and that is identified male at birth, but later naturally developing female characteristics. And then you have number 8, which is Zaris Adam, which is identified male at birth, and later developing female characteristics through human intervention. So it's like, you have these things, and they're in the Talmud. You see it in the Tanakh, which in Christianity is Old Testament. There's a rabbi here that mentions that Adam was first created with 2 faces, one male and the other female. As it is stated, you have formed me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me, Psalms 138:5. So it's like, there's so many views that you can see, and you can look at these things, and you have to go to the actual source. Many of them just go by the English translation, which we know in 1946 was mistranslated. They don't ever want to talk about how King David and Jonathan were lovers, And you can definitely see that. And just imagine how many queer lives would have been saved or stay in with their, religious institutions if those things were properly taught. Not in a negative term and an evil term, but in a term of, wow,
Love.
King David and Jonathan were lovers. They were lovers. It even says Jonathan loved David more than he did women, and
They
David
got
said the same
naked
to him.
together. They got naked
Exactly.
together. Yeah.
And they swore
And
on each other's
Ruth was a
inner
lesbian too.
thigh.
Yeah, the creation myth, which of course we don't take literally, but if you wanted to, then that would just settle the matter anyway, because in the creation myth means that Eve is intersex or transgender. She is born from a man's body, so she has a Y chromosome. There's no XX pair from another parent. Born from this man's from this man's side. Now there's another myth too, but they seem to prefer that one. And so if the woman of the mother of humanity is born from a man, we have an intersex or transgender situation from the beginning.
Exactly.
Well, that whole story falls apart with any study whatsoever.
Oh, well, of course. But.
And let's just throw in that there's no bigger drag queen than the Pope.
Right.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I mean, come on.
God is a drag queen. Every time you see God is in a costume presenting something. God is in dove drag at Jesus' baptism. God is in Jesus drag in the incarnation. God is in rainbow drag when God appears to the prophet Ezekiel. God is the first drag queen.
Well, and there are 3 sets of same-sex saints in Catholicism. So it was actually some of the most read literature in the early church. But again, that has been changed and silenced and demonized and all of those things too. So again, audience, this is new. The hatred is old. The exclusion is old. The demonizing your neighbor is ancient AF. But hating people and drag and all of that is new, and there's no reason for you. I mean, come on, guys, how could you hate anybody on this panel? I just love you all so much. Okay. Baby boy, you've been awfully quiet this show. Do you have anything to say before we close out?
So I actually have quite a bit of stuff going on here coming up.
Okay.
I don't think I wrote down notes about it, so I hope I don't forget anything. My drag mom's probably going to watch this later. Mom, sorry if I forget anything. My phone died. So I actually do have a show coming up on the 30th. We actually run as a family our own virtual show every month. It's our deadline's tomorrow, but we run it on the 30th of every month that it comes out. And I believe when I submitted the form, I submitted the link for that. Possibly.
I don't think so.
Huh.
Share it on the Facebook page when you're done.
Yes, I will, for sure. So we have the show coming out on the 30th. That's not the same show every month, but same deadline. So that's a reoccurring thing that we have going on. Other than that, I really don't have much, I'll be honest. Luminous does know all about this, but I credit her for saving my drag career, because when everything went under with Rona, I was like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? And then a year later, here we are. And it was just like one of those things. So unfortunately, that's really all I have going on right now with different shows and stuff coming up.
That's okay. What about some words of wisdom?
One other thing about announcements, I wanted to bring this up really quick. I have not came up with a plan quite yet to do this, but some people that I know that would possibly be watching this that are already on my drag page, I am planning on potentially changing it and potentially either going over to Instagram or possibly TikTok or something, just because the fact that my personal life does make it so unsafe, and my family is all over my Facebook and stuff. So yeah. I'm planning on eventually trying to switch over. So be on the lookout for that announcement eventually at some point. In terms of words of wisdom, I would say honestly, the biggest thing that drag has taught me is, and I hate to put this bluntly, but this is just the way both of us are, Ash and Baby Boy, don't give a shit what anybody else thinks about you when it comes to stuff like, your sexuality, your gender identity, blah, blah, blah. Because I actually found out the whole non-binary side of Ash through drag, believe it or not. So, I really took the chance to learn, especially after being pulled in by Luminous, of like, you really cannot give a fuck what anybody else thinks of you. Because if you do, then life just gets boring and miserable. And
Don't let anybody tell you who you are.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, thank you so much. Any final words of wisdom, and where can people find you?
Well, sunshinecathedral.org is where we are. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, all the rest. But the Sunshine Cathedral is the gateway. We stream our 10th. We have 2 services on Sunday morning. The second one is live streamed on about 7 venues.
Nice.
And if you're seeing us right now, well, we're on that venue too. So we're on all the venues. So and so we'd love for you to check us out. I think you'll be surprised. We call ourselves a different kind of church, and I promise we are. For words of wisdom, I would just say theology is our God, our opinions about God, what we say about God. Mm-hmm. Theology is always wrong, or at least incomplete. And so if you have to choose between theology and love, go with love.
Always.
Because theology is never completely right, and love is never wrong. So if you have to choose, always choose love.
I love that. Alistair, where can people find you, and any final words of wisdom?
Well, they can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and that is it right now. I do have a show coming up now in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I'm so excited about. It's called Alistair's Guys and Dolls. It'll be at the Hedge off Sheridan in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a great venue that has allowed me, and it holds 200 people. That allows me to pack out the house and have a good show and great entertainers and a loving environment. And so I'm so loving that. And for me, I would say be yourself to free yourself, because that's how I became myself and freed myself by becoming myself. Because like as everyone on here has said, and any drag entertainer you can talk to will tell you that drag has helped them become their true selves, because it is just it just helps them, and it comforts them, and it helps them just that piece of them that was oppressed for so long. Guess what? It's helped them. It just opened that out. Like my best friend said, I call him Broseph, and that's a long story. But he said, honey, you didn't come out of the closet. You brought the world to your closet.
There you go.
Because my drag is, I have probably more drag costumes and outfits and everything than I do actual clothes, because I perform so much. But it's true. I mean, I have probably 4 closets full. So, it is an ongoing experience, and it's constantly evolving, and it also helps you evolve. Like that's how I came to be known as non-binary, so I mean, and as in Hebrew androgynous, because it's helped me just be myself, and I love it. So anyone that like, we can also help you, hun, to I can fly there and put you in drag. How about that? Put you as a diva.
Let's do it.
We'll get you as a diva, and we'll do a whole makeup tutorial on this awesome. Yeah.
Let's do it.
We'll, that would be lovely, because I do that often too. When I do birthday parties or whatnot, that I say, I can do I paint people's mug. So
awesome. Well, I had to put this comment up, Susan, because that's the bar that I was talking about when I saw my first drag show and I wanted to be a drag queen. It
Oh
was
my.
the El Goya Club in Ybor City, Florida. So we might have been there at the same time and didn't even know it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Also, too, last one last thing. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
May 13th, Saturday, May 13th, we are having a big march in Oklahoma.
Okay.
It's going to be a big drag show at the state capitol, and it's going to be a big march. A lot of Democratic legislators will be speaking. Religious leaders will be speaking. Several drag entertainers will be speaking, as well as myself, and we'll be entertaining. And it's just to be just like what Florida's doing and Tennessee is doing, and all these other states that are very undergoing a lot of uncertainties and hatred from the GOP and things of that nature. So it is to be a voice, and I can't wait. And y'all get bail money ready just in case. You know, I might be getting a GoFundMe. You know,
that's okay.
No, I don't think it'll get that bad, but.
Send me the information on that, and I will be
Mhm.
happy to share it. I've got a ton of people in Oklahoma that I'm sure would
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Sarah Cunningham, if she's not watching right now, I'm sure she's going, oh my God, I gotta be there.
She's one of my friends, and she's actually, oh my God, to talk about free mom hugs. Oh my God. They helped save me because as soon as I came out, my whole family disowned me. They, gave me all the spiel and the speech of, all the things, Bible verses and all that stuff. And then, free mom hugs saved my life because I was almost attempting suicide because I felt so alone. I had friends, but it's just like those I loved forever and that were my family disowned me and so quickly. So Free Mom Hug saved my life. And I love Sarah Cunningham and all of her team that started that lovely
she's
organization.
Phenomenal. She's
And
phenomenal
they'll be there.
And a friend. Okay, so I'm going to send you guys backstage before the VIP show, and I'm going to close this one out. Thank you so much. This was such a wonderful show. You guys brought so much brilliance and wisdom and love. I appreciate you all. I want to send you backstage. Thank you so much.
Bye.
What a great show. I hope that you guys all learned something from this and it gave you something to dispel the fear and issue in more love. Next week's show is going to be with another author. I told you that May is going to be full of authors. So it's Mark G. Davis, and we are going to be talking about the diabolical trinity. Another great show. So we're going to go back and stage onto the VIP. I will send you all the links and post it for all of the VIP members. You can join the VIP for only $3 a month. Come backstage and talk to us. I will talk to you soon. And remember, no matter what, walk in love. Mwah! See you next week.